if you were hanging out with us on Monday, we decided to have kind of like a little tight-knit supporters hangout on
Yeah.
Discord to watch the football game. And it was going to be a good one. It was going to be your Buffalo Bills
Yeah. Two
and the
good
Cincinnati
teams.
Bengals. 11 and
Yep.
4 versus 12 and 3. The Bills had to win to maintain their hold of the number 1 seed. It was in Cincinnati. Everybody was there. It's going to be nuts. Then what happens? T. Higgins, wide receiver for actually let me back up. First of all, what happens is the Bengals are just just
Oh,
donkey
come on.
punching the Buffalo Bills. But
Come on.
anyway, so the Bengals are driving for their second touchdown in the first quarter, Bills fans. And T. Higgins makes a catch. He's tackled over the middle by 24-year-old safety Damar Hamlin. Hamlin makes the tackle, gets up, adjusts his face mask, takes a couple steps, and collapses. Very weird scene. It's not that we've never seen anything like that happen before, but typically when we do, even like earlier this year with Tua
Mm.
Tagovailoa of the Dolphins,
Oh, yeah.
it's usually a brain injury, right? Like it's usually you're just kind of in cruise control with your muscles, and but you're not all there, and then you kind of
Oh, yeah.
lose your equilibrium. And remember, they instituted all these new rules now where the NFL has spotters that are looking for players after hits to see if they're not all there, so they can get them out of the game. Because obviously you don't want to be taking a bunch more damage after you've been concussed, you know.
Yeah.
But this was not that. It looked like that, but this was not that. This man's heart stopped. His heart stopped. He was dead on the field. And as we were all sitting here watching the game live, and it was like, man, this break is like a really long break. And I mean, whenever
Yeah.
the ambulance comes out, oh, serious injury. But how serious he couldn't have broken
Yeah.
his leg because we saw the guy stand up. No, it's because they were administering CPR on the field. It was
Yeah.
nuts. And so, as of this recording, he is alive. He's still in critical condition. They did say that he's showing signs of improvement, so that's a great thing. He's young. He's a kid. 24 years old.
Yeah.
He's a
It's a
kid.
baby.
Yeah, right? And so that kind of spurs two different conversations that I wanted to have tonight. The first one being is the outpouring of support and reaction and how genuine that is, and then what conversations are and are not appropriate. I'll start with the first one. I actually did a little Twitter poll. I want you to take a look at this right here. So I did a little poll on Twitter that was sort of like a rhetorical statement. I think the overwhelming majority of sympathy and grieving as a result of the Damar Hamlin situation is fake/virtue signaling. People don't really actually care that much about a complete stranger, but they want to go along with the crowd to be seen as caring. Am I A, correct, or B, a sociopath, but also correct? Now, I know that I did a little tongue-in-cheek thing in there that I didn't have an answer for, you're
No.
wrong, because I know I'm right. Like, why are you mad? I'm right. But the thing is, because I said the overwhelming majority, it doesn't mean that no one cares. It's the
Okay.
overwhelming majority. I'm sure people that personally know the man care, but there's always, like, because you think about it. If there was 1 million people saying, "Oh no, Barbara Walters rippy," do you think those people gave a shit about Barbara Walters? Come on, they didn't care. They didn't care about Damar Hamlin. They want to be seen as caring about Damar Hamlin, and we know that they don't care because the fact of the matter is that bad things happen to good people all the time. And I'm not. By the way, I'm not saying that it's bad to not care because something bad happened to someone. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it would be difficult for you to go on living if you broke down into tears for every single person who suffered a bad fate. I mean, how would you get by? I On a related note, this was a funny little comment I saw from our friend Brian Kaplan, because he pointed out the whole concept of coping, and for the kids out there, especially the kids on the internets, they like to tell other people cope as a cut down, as a derogatory statement, like, oh, you're mad that the Bills were losing, haha, cope. But that doesn't really ring to me as a good use of the term, because shouldn't someone who is dealing with something cope? Because if you didn't cope, where would you be?
It seems like the strong thing to do.
Yeah, it's the thing you have to do, otherwise you just fall apart, right? And so again, I'm not saying that no one cares or that you cannot care some, but you're going to care a lot more about your personal friends and loved ones. You're going to care a lot less about complete strangers. That's just... And so if we accept that as true, but we're seeing millions of people who don't watch football, who didn't know that Damar Hamlin existed 5 minutes ago, those people are now going to say, oh no, thoughts and prayers for him. And you're like,
change my profile picture.
Yeah. Oh my God, they were though. Everyone's doing a little Damar Hamlin, like the little jersey.
Yeah. Every team in the NFL did.
Yeah. So people who don't even watch football are putting Hamlin jerseys in their PFP. Are you kidding me right now? So anyway, that's the first thing. The second reaction was, what's appropriate to discuss? We live in interesting times. If Damar Hamlin had taken a hit on the field and collapsed in 2019, we wouldn't be about to have the conversation we're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
But since it happened now, and since we know that the NFL was one of many companies that was browbeating and threatening players to get the jab as a condition of employment, as many places did, then I'm sorry, yeah, we get to ask these questions. Was he jabbed? Did he have the vax? Did he have his boosters? Is that why he collapsed? Did his heart stop as a vaccine injury? # vaccine injury on Twitter. These things were trending this past few days. Yeah. And as a result of that, you immediately then see the battle lines drawn. You have this side saying, every single person who's trending on this, you're all fascists and Nazis and science deniers and yada, yada, yada. And all the people on the other side saying, you trust the people who did Tuskegee. Like, right? Like, I feel like that pretty much, yeah. So, anyway, speaking of that, we're going to ask these questions, because we're not going to forget that the same people who are mad at you now and telling you, oh, that's very inappropriate, what a monster, you shouldn't be asking questions like that when a young man has suffered such a terrible fate. It's none of your business to be asking about whether or not he had the jab. It's like, dude, you were asking me whether or not I was jabbed if I wanted to go to Starbucks. So yes, we get to ask whether or not he was jabbed because his heart stopped on national television. If anything, I think ours is a little bit, like, if you had to get down to the bottom of one, I think ours is a more valuable information to have.
Yeah, you might want to know that. Yeah.
Might want to know. God, it makes me feel bad for people, because I don't know Damar Hamlin, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I care that much. I don't know the guy. But I do feel bad for people that were pressured into making decisions that perhaps they didn't want to make because they felt like their livelihood was at stake. Dave Chappelle has the great quote that you should never threaten a man's livelihood, because threatening his livelihood is akin to killing him. And that's what they did. Yep. That's what they did, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how they went after people. Speaking of people going after one another, from his own brethren, check out this right here. Check out this tweet. This is from Uche Nwaneri, who is a former guard for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, barely a football player if you play for Jacksonville. But anyway, he said, okay, so let's get these vaccine mandates and vaccine passports up and running ASAP. We seeing children die daily from the unvaccinated selfishness. Pregnant women at risk too. Protect life. Mandate the vaccine. Jail anyone who refuses to protect life. Jail anyone who refuses. So again, who are the monsters in this scenario? Are it the people asking tough questions at a difficult time? Or are it those people who thought 5 minutes ago they thought you should go to jail because you didn't get the jab? Are you kidding me? You don't get to have groceries this week because you didn't get the jab. By the way, just as a random aside, things didn't really work out too well for him either. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Oh man,
it was in your head. It had to come out.
Yeah, I know. Well, while we're on Price of Right references, every booster you get, the yodeler goes further up the mountain.
Oh,
yeah,
that's incentive.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, to wrap up that point, just this barely scratching the surface of this conversation, I'd be willing to bet this episode gets either flagged or taken down on Facebook or on YouTube. Well, really everywhere for that matter, but particularly places like YouTube. You know, our views on YouTube have been great. And you know how much we're getting paid for those views? Nothing.
Oh.
Because our channel isn't monetized. You know why it's not monetized? It has all the metrics. We have all the views and subscribers. It's not, because it's labeled as hateful content.
Oh, we got that?
Yeah, we got that. We're hateful content. It's harmful to viewers, so we're not monetized.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, all this hateful content of wondering whether or not my child's going to drop dead because I got him a shot because the government said I had to. Yeah. So to assuage the fears of our friends at places like YouTube, I want you to know this episode was brought to you by Pfizer.
Is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.